Hi guys, this is Frank from Native Meetup London. At the last meetup I did a quick workshop on how to use iMaschine to create templates so that you can quickly come up with your ideas without messing around with sounds for hours, and also how to do a house remix using a famous sample from a record. So I'm going to run through both of those now in this video and I hope you find it useful. Okay, so let's have a quick look at the iMaschine interface. So as you may or may not know, you've got 4 channels or sounds down here at the bottom. So we've got pads here. I've assigned some pads here as well. You can change them by holding down on the bottom button. You can change from pads to keys, sampler or recorder. On the 3rd channel I've got a synth. And the last channel I've assigned a synth for a bass. So this track that I've made is a remix of a famous sample by a singer called Shannon. The song was called Let the Music Play. And the sample's here on the yellow pads. If I unmute the other sample as well. We started dancing and love put us into our groove. So how do you load a sample into iMaschine? So there are 2 ways. You can either go to your sampler here and you can say I'm going to play this sample at different pitches. So essentially that is what we listen to anyway, but it happens to be a sort of like a piano to deep house synth. If you want to pick a sample, you go to the browser, magnifying glass, and instead of picking from the sample packs that Native Instruments provide, at the top here you can go into your playlists. That's your iTunes playlist if you've got iTunes on your iPad. Most people do. I'm not sure if you can not have it really. Playlists, and on here I've got acapellas, and then you can pick your sample. Now I'm not going to use this method, and the reason why is because I wanted to play notes and things with the sampler and repitch them, and with the sample I can just assign it to any sample on any pad of the drum pads. So this, if I just go back to this drum pad here, that sample there for example, if I want to assign the sample to that, all I need to do is to browse, go to playlists, here, acapellas that I've saved and Shannon Let the Music Play. And I press the import button, and what that does is that imports the sample. So let's do it on this pad there. So playlists, acapellas, Let the Music Play. Press the import button. Okay, it seems to have remembered my settings. If I go back. So what it does is it will import the whole sample like this and start from the beginning. We started dancing and love put us in. And then what you may want to do is to pick a different part of the song. So if I move along the top here and we get to about there, then as you can see we can move anywhere along the sample. So here is the top of the chorus, I think. Let the music play. It is, but what I want to do is, you can hear it's not quite in the right place yet. Let the music. So I'm going to zoom in using my fingers and the move your 2 fingers apart method. And then as you will see, you can move the whole sample by the top handle, and you can use the bottom handle for the start and the end. So let's listen to the start. Love said, let the music. Love said, let the. So I actually want it to go from the word let the music, so about there. Let the music play. And that's all I really want. So if I bring the end of the sample to about here. Let the music play. That will do. You can be more precise and zoom in and be really accurate if you want. Now I'm going to press import, put it into a folder, give it a name. I'm going to call it Shannon 4, just to do that. And then if you press back button, let the music play. That's the sample now loaded into the pad. Now you'll notice if I just press it and let go, let the music play, the whole sample plays, and you may not want to do that. So in the edit mode with the pencil, sorry, the sample mode here, you can turn off one shot. That gives you more manipulation. You can play the sample quickly without it overlapping and playing to the end each time. So we've got a sample there, and then how did I build this remix? So what I did was I started with the sample actually. So I've got it loaded there. So I had that literally kind of the beginning of the song, and then the word into our groove. So I started with that actually, and I put it to a kick drum. So if we listen to what I've played, so we've got a few things going on there. We've got a kick drum. Let's just mute off. If I go to mute on the pencil icon, let's mute off those Shannon samples. So 1, 2, 3, 4 on the kick. On the 4, 1, 2, 3, 4 is the snare. There's a hat. There's also this sound, which is a bass. And then, so it's actually just a 4-bar phrase, and then you've got the, which is like a low synth as well. So that sound is called, if you go to Magnifying Glass, it's called Riff Def Trap 3, and that bass there is Bass Close Up 1, which is in your Prospect Haze sample pack. The other sample pack is Electric Vice. So, and your kick here, that's from Magnet Hustle. So I'm going to recreate that now. So if I just go to the pencil and click clear, I've cleared it. So there's nothing there. So I'm going to press the metronome, and I'm then going to record the kick drum. I'm just going to record a bar because I'm going to set up a few things in that bar, and then I'm going to double and double that bar to get it to be 4 bars. Okay, so there's your kick drum. Now if you can't record in real time, if you find that a bit tricky, then there's another way to record. So if I just clear again, what we can do is we can use step mode, and step mode's very easy because it's just like a grid, and you're telling the sound how often you want to hear it and when do you want to hear it in a grid. So if we click on the kick drum, go to step mode, there are 16, normally if we're splitting the bar into 16 different places, 16 equal lengths, the kick will be normally on the 1, 2, 3 and 4. But equally you could have it like this. So that's very easy to do. Let's listen to, we've got I'm at a snare now. If we go to step mode, the snare was on the 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. The hat was kind of doing a so I'm going to record that in real time. There we go. And what that happens to look like is it's halfway along each bar, and then it's a bit later. So that's your kick, hat and your snare. Then we had I did a sort of an offbeat, slightly funky bass here. Now because we're going to duplicate this bar, I'll do it over 2 bars. So what I'll do now is I will go to the double function. So we've doubled that to 2 bars now. So what I will do is I will now record in this bass here. Take the metronome off now, which is there. Okay, that's sounding good. Next thing is this. Now that sound, I decided to put it in on bars 3 and 4. So what we're going to do now is go back to double again. So we've doubled the whole thing to 4 bars, and then I'm just going to record that in on bars 3 and 4. Good, so we've got kick, hats, snare, bass, quite a lot going on in this set of pads. Let's move to the sample as well now. So I'm now going to just record the sampling, which is, if we just unmute it, and it's just going to go in on the one of the bar. So I'm going to play it straight away, record it there, and because we're set to quantizing, if you tap on the tempo, quantizing's turned on, it will automatically, if I'm a bit late or a bit early with that button press, it will just move it to spot on the grid. We started dancing and love put us into our groove. There we go. We started dancing and love put us in. And that's also dependent on where the sample starts from in the editor. You can play around with where that starts. And also in the wave editor, you can, so that will be in the edit menu. You go in the scissors and you get back to that screen where you are manipulating the sample. But you can also change the tuning and the gain on that sample as well. We started dancing and love put us. And you can do a few other things with it, including one shot. So it plays in full whenever you tap it, and you can reverse it and you can change the colour. So to remind yourself that actually that's an important sample that I'm going to use when I'm playing. Let's listen to the other one as well, which if I go back to the pencil and mute and unmute. So this is going to do a... So I'm going to record that. Let's just mute off the main sample. That sounds pretty good. So let's listen to the other bits of the track now. So if we unmute the orange pads is just hats and claps. So the clap is on the 2 and the 4. You can have it everywhere. And the hat, that's doing that. Let's go to the deep house sounds now, which is on channel 3. So I've got some effects on that. As you can tell, it sounds a bit muffled and it's repeating. So that's delay and it's a filter. So here's delay. These are the 2 effects you can choose to apply on any channel, one or both, and then whether they're enabled is here on the FX 1 and 2. If I turn them off, then we just got, so that sound has actually got a bit of reverb on it anyway, and the actual sample is called Synth Spezi 4, part of the Chaos, oh dear, that's the Chaos Theory sample pack. Let's go back to that, Synth Spezi 4. See, 3, they're actually different chords but using the same synth. And then what I did was I just pressed different notes until I could find something that worked with the sample. So let's just clear that sample. Clear. So I played it along here. And that one worked. And that one worked, but it's a bit high, so I went down an octave instead. So that's E, and that's B. And then I started playing around with those in patterns to see what would work. And then I recorded it. And that was over a 4-bar period. And then finally we have a bass line. If I just mute off the synth there, and let's listen to the bass line. Now finding bass notes that sound good is not always easy. The one that I chose was from Cavern Floor, and it's called Basta. And we were in F. Sorry, these synths are sampled at different frequencies, so they don't always musically all tie in together. Sometimes you just have to play what works, or make sure you always choose the right sample at the right frequency. So always pick a C sharp bass, because sometimes you get they give you different versions of the bass. They give you one at F sharp, one at B, one at D, etc. I just matched it by ear, and I found that this note here, this F and this C worked, but what I wanted to do was put some variation. So instead of going, which I could do, I went down to 2 notes here. So I went, and then on the C, and that kind of creates a bit of variation with the track. So let's listen to all of it now. So I'm going to put those effects back on the synth. So a bit of delay and that filter low pass. So that's low pass is letting the lower frequencies through, and it's muffling the higher bits. You can muck around with the filter as well. That's quite a nice bit of live play, moving the filter around. You can even put the filter on the beats. And that essentially is the remix idea. One thing that I was going to do was I was going to alternate between that short sample and the full one as well. We started dancing and love. So if I mute off the short one, we started dancing and love put us into our room. Then I'm going to mute after this time. Okay, so switch now. Do a mini break. Bring the beat back in. And mucking around like this gives you the ideas about the arrangement. So you can, it's a good idea to record jamming like this and muting things and bringing levels up, because it gives you the ideas that you can then put into the arrangement. So that in essence is that remix of that Shannon sample, and it's very quick and easy to throw together in iMaschine. It's a lot of fun. In fact, it probably took me maybe 10 minutes just to throw that together, and I like it so much that I've actually exported it to the full Maschine project. So the way that you can do that is on the menu at the top here. You can go to export for Maschine or audio. You can just export the track as a WAV or a M4A file. But if you export for Maschine, give it a name, it then creates a zip file. You can email it to yourself like this, or save it to Dropbox, and then you can download that onto your main computer for music production, and you can open it in Maschine standalone, save it, and then import that into your DAW. And that's what I've started doing. I've actually made a proper remix of this, so in a later video, hopefully, I can reveal how that actually has taken shape into a much better, more professional sounding remix. But as just an initial idea generator. This is a fantastic tool. I've written lots of different ideas for tracks on it, and also because you can have it on your iPhone, you have it anywhere you go. It's just very handy. So yeah, I hope you found that useful, and if you have any questions, please post in the comments. Happy to answer those. If you are interested in coming along to a native user meetup in London, the next one is planned for a very early April, so the best way to keep informed about that is to go on Facebook and join there's a group and a page, and it's called Native Meetup London, and you will see the updates on when the events are. It's held at Point Blank Music School near Old Street, and it's free to attend. You just have to sign up before all the places go, and it's a day on a Sunday of learning, of free seminars, chatting, networking, etc. So yeah, thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Thanks.